Trump promised trade wars were good and easy to win. He said China would pay. But the truth? You paid, and it cost billions. Today we're exposing the biggest trade lie in modern American history, and why, if we don't stay informed, it's a price we'll keep paying. Trump's tariff strategy didn't follow a plan. It followed his mood. Steel, aluminum, Chinese electronics. No industry was safe. One day, 25% tariffs. The next day, maybe an exception. Maybe Canada. Maybe not. Trump bragged, trade wars are good and easy to win. Meanwhile, economists warned, trade wars crush markets, not enemies. American businesses faced chaos, unpredictable supply chains, skyrocketing costs, crumbling confidence. But unpredictability wasn't the only problem. Trump's so-called deal with China, that was an even bigger disaster. Every time the stock market dipped, Trump claimed a miracle deal with China was coming. They're calling, they want to deal, he shouted.
We've had very good discussions with China. We're getting much closer to doing something. They very much want to make a deal. As you know, their economy went way down since we've been doing this skirmish. I spoke with President Xi yesterday. They very much want to make a deal. I think we'll make a deal with China, and I think it'll be a very fair deal for everybody, but it will be a good deal for the United States.
Mr. President!
But Chinese officials flatly denied it. No calls, no deals, no negotiations, just desperation. Trump was lying to protect the illusion of victory while the economy bled. And while Trump lied, American farmers paid the price. Farmers were crushed first. Soybean exports, once a $12 billion a year powerhouse, collapsed by 75%.
China's doing a little number. They want to attack the Farm Belt because they know the farmers love me, they voted for me, we won every one of the states.
Bankruptcies among family farms spiked to record highs. Manufacturers, from car plants to appliance makers, faced higher input costs, layoffs, and closures.
It shows up like this, Tom, in some of the goods that are right behind me. Let me walk you through it. Fruits and vegetables. Most of Mexico's avocados are find a home in the United States. The majority of fruits and vegetables, about 47%, come from just Mexico and Canada alone when it comes to the American grocery list. On top of that, beer and tequila is a big one. So you're already going to see companies like Diageo, for example, really impacted at the European Open as well. Car parts is a big piece of it. This is where the world's car makers like to assemble their cars in Mexico and in Canada as well. Remember, they have that proximity to Detroit, the northern part, and really the Rust Belt of the United States. You've got the likes of lumber out of Canada, even steel, which is due to benefit, even in the short term, Tom. These are all things that are going to hit American pocketbooks.
And consumers? You paid more for everything. Washing machines, groceries, electronics. Trump said China paid. In reality, you paid. But it wasn't just the economy Trump lied about. It was the tariffs themselves. Over and over, Trump told his base, China's paying the tariffs. Billions are pouring into our treasury.
So Donald Trump tends to fixate on things. Over the years, it's been showerheads, windmills, making Canada the 51st state, and apparently tariff is the most beautiful word in the world. His claim, not mine. But there's another fixation behind Trump's tariff fixation, and it's the trade deficit. The U.S. trade deficit is at the core of Trump's decision to impose sweeping tariffs on our friends and foes, upending the existing economic order. And yet I'm not convinced that he truly understands what a trade deficit is. 1 week ago, he took to Truth Social saying, quote, "We have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs. Someday people will realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing." See, he thinks they're really beautiful. Donald Trump's focus on trade deficits has bewildered economists. It appears the president might have a misunderstanding of what it means to have a trade deficit, because having one isn't necessarily a bad thing. A trade deficit is when a country is importing more goods and services than it is exporting, taking in more from foreign countries than it is putting out. Investopedia breaks it down further. Quote, "A trade deficit occurs when the value of a country's imports exceeds the value of its exports, with imports and exports referring to both physical goods and services." So yes, it's true, we have a trade deficit. It just means that foreign countries sell us more goods and services than we sell to them. The U.S. trade deficit was around $122 billion in February. That's according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Now, that seems like a huge number, but that's just because we have a strong demand for goods, which is a sign of a healthy economy, because it means Americans are buying things. In President Trump's mind, when the U.S. has a trade deficit with another country, America is being ripped off. His words, not mine. He said so in the past, but that's not the case. Even some of his most loyal supporters are breaking with him on this one. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky says the debate over tariffs is, quote, backward and upside down. He went on CNBC a few days ago simplifying trade deficits by likening them to a purchase.
The fallacy is this, that somehow in a trade someone must lose, that somehow when you trade with someone there's a loser and someone's taking advantage of you and China's ripping you off or Japan's ripping you off. It's absolutely a fallacy. Every trade that occurs in the marketplace is mutually beneficial. Now, you could artificially do this accounting between countries and say, oh, trade deficit, look at this trade deficit. But I have a trade deficit with my grocery store.
I have a trade deficit with my grocery store. It's a really good point he made. He's right. Think of Mexico, Vietnam, or Bangladesh as the grocery store and the U.S. as the consumer. You go to the grocery store to buy orange juice. You pay for the orange juice. That's the trade. You didn't have to grow the orange. You didn't have to ship the orange. You just buy the orange juice. Now you have an abundance of the thing you need, orange juice, and the grocery store has some cash to continue to do its business. No one was ripped off in the transaction. It doesn't mean that you have a deficit with the grocery store.
Fact: tariffs are taxes. They were quietly added onto American invoices, from importers to retailers to you. It wasn't China hemorrhaging billions. It was American families squeezed tighter every month. And yet, Trump supporters kept cheering. Why? Poll after poll showed the truth. Most Trump supporters didn't understand tariffs at all.
We've taxed China on $300 billion worth of goods and products being sold into our country, and China eats it because they have to pay it, because what they do is they devalue their currency and they push money out. Our people haven't paid. As you know, we're also charging them 25% on $250 billion. So we're taking in many billions of dollars. There's been absolutely no inflation, and frankly, it hasn't cost our consumer anything. It costs China. Now, what has happened is a lot of companies are moving out of China so they can, avoid, and China's had a rough this is their worst year in 27 years, according to yesterday's Wall Street Journal.
Many believed China was literally writing checks to the U.S. Treasury. Meanwhile, farmers needed $28 billion in taxpayer bailouts to survive, the largest farm subsidy since the Great Depression. And those billions? They didn't save family farms. They mostly enriched corporate agricultural giants. Facing outrage from rural America, Trump rushed to create farm bailouts, but small family farms struggled to access relief. Meanwhile, giant agribusiness walked away with millions. Trump didn't save the American farmer. He saved his political narrative. In the end, Trump's tariffs didn't punish China. They punished Americans. They didn't rebuild U.S. manufacturing. They broke small businesses. They didn't lower prices. They raised them. And worst of all, millions of Americans believed they were winning while footing the bill for a fantasy. Trade wars aren't easy to win. Lies aren't victories. And economic betrayal isn't patriotism. If you're tired of slogans winning over facts, subscribe to Trumpster Fire. We fight disinformation with truth, and we blowtorch the lies